Welcome to the debate. So today we are looking at why, a $60,000 business degree might actually be a massive disadvantage compared to a $100 bill and like a basic PayPal button.
Right, which sounds completely counterintuitive to traditionalists.
Oh, totally. But we are diving deep into this whole phenomenon of the micro business revolution. We're analyzing the core arguments laid out in Chris Guillebeau's book, The $100 Startup.
Yeah, it is a fascinating structural shift. We're essentially watching ordinary people completely circumvent the traditional gatekeepers of commerce.
Exactly. Bypassing massive business plans, ignoring heavy corporate debt, skipping specialized degrees, and just building these incredibly profitable, passion-driven lives.
But, the central question we really have to unravel today isn't just that this is happening. It is why it's happening. What is the primary catalyst that actually ensures the success of these unexpected entrepreneurs?
Right, and I will be arguing that the core driver of this revolution is what we can call an action bias. It's this relentless ability to launch quickly, to market a product before you even manufacture it, and, just iterate on the fly based on real-world feedback.
Well, and I'll be taking the opposing view here. I will argue that raw action without a foundation is just noise. True, sustainable success in this space actually hinges on structural precision.
Structural precision. Okay, sounds very corporate.
Hey, it works. It means identifying exact market needs, crafting highly compelling, mathematically sound offers, and implementing rigorous pricing and continuity models right from the ground up.
All right, well, let's jump right into the reality of the landscape, because the traditional barriers to starting a business have been just completely demolished.
Sure, the internet changed everything.
It did. And the defining characteristic of the micro-business successes chronicled in the material isn't their, deep business acumen. It's their sheer ability to overcome inertia. I mean, the data in the text shows that the average startup cost for these highly successful ventures was just $610.60.
Which is incredibly low, I'll admit.
Right? Many launch for less than $100. So what this tells us fundamentally is that the true engine of the microbusiness isn't capital, it's sweat equity and immediate action.
But sweat equity alone doesn't pay the bills.
No, but it's the philosophy of market before manufacturing. You put a basic, even flawed offer out to the world just to see what the market actually does, rather than, spending months planning in a vacuum. It is the willingness to launch before feeling fully ready that separates those who succeed from those who just dream.
Look, action is definitely a prerequisite, but emphasizing it as the primary driver is dangerous. You can pedal a bicycle with all the sweat equity in the world, but if the chain isn't connected to the gears, you are just expending energy to stay in the exact same spot.
That's a fun metaphor, but...
No, seriously, survival in this incredibly crowded micro-business space requires deep, almost clinical alignment with market desires. The material heavily emphasizes a concept called giving them the fish.
Right, giving people what they actually want.
Exactly. Providing core emotional benefits and immediate solutions rather than just listing product features. Success is determined by formulating what the text calls an offer you can't refuse.
Which sounds a bit like the mafia, but okay.
Well, it's about utilizing sophisticated value-based pricing. Simply launching a passion project and hoping the market embraces it is a recipe for burnout. Without structural precision, like a clear, viable architecture behind the business, rapid action merely accelerates your failure.
Okay, let's unpack how failure and success actually play out in those crucial initial stages. Because I think the concept of accelerating failure is exactly why the action bias is so vital.
You want to fail faster?
Yes. Let's look at launching and market testing. The psychological necessity of getting that very first sale immediately is what shatters the paralysis of the would-be entrepreneur.
Sure. Getting a quick win feels good.
It's more than a feeling. The material gives us the example of Nick Gatens, right? He was an IT professional trying to start a side photography business, but he just kept delaying the launch of his website.
Because he wanted it to be right.
In his head, he was doing exactly what you're advocating. He was making structural excuses. He convinced himself he needed to, tweak the design, perfect the code, optimize the layout.
Which are completely valid concerns if you want to establish a professional brand.
But in reality, it was just fear masking his preparation. Perfectionism is the ultimate hiding place. It wasn't until a conversation pushed him to just act, to throw the site live regardless of its flaws, that he broke the spell.
Okay, and what happened?
He made his first $50 print sale just 2 weeks later. The structural precision of his CSS code didn't matter. Breaking the inertia did. The action generated the actual data.
Well, I'll grant you that overcoming fear is a vital psychological hurdle. But let's look at the mechanism of that success. A single $50 sale is a great confidence boost, sure, but it does not make a sustainable business.
It proves the concept, though.
It's a localized event, not a system. You can't build a life on one $50 print.
But it is the spark that builds the momentum required to create the system. Consider Andreas Companies.
The app developer.
Yeah, he launched his London Cyclist app from the Heathrow Airport departure lounge, literally just 30 minutes before an 11-hour flight to Brazil.
Talk about cutting it close.
Exactly. He forced a physical, non-negotiable deadline on himself. By doing so, he engaged Parkinson's law, which is the idea that work expands to fill the time allotted.
Right.
By compressing his timeline, he forced himself to strip away all the non-essential structural tinkering you love so much. He hit launch, boarded a plane, and went completely offline for half a day.
Which, structurally, abandoning your software product the minute it goes live seems like a terrible strategy.
But when he landed in São Paulo, the sales that had flooded in had already paid for his plane ticket and his first week of lodging. Action, and specifically the artificial constraint on planning, forced the result.
Okay, the momentum of that story is undeniable, but I have to really challenge the premise that the speed of his launch is what caused those sales.
How can you deny that?
Because the app sold because the product was structured around a distinct market need, not because he uploaded it from an airport lounge. To prove why the what matters infinitely more than the how fast, we just have to look at the author's own very transparent failure.
Oh, you mean the Travel Ninja product?
Right, the airline routing guide. Now, the author had a massive bias toward action, didn't he?
He did. He put a lot of work into it.
He surveyed his audience, spent countless hours building the product, designed the launch sequence, and put it out into the world. Massive rapid action. But it failed miserably to meet expectations.
Well, yeah, because it was too complicated.
Because the structural precision of the offer was fundamentally flawed. He tried to teach his customers the complex underlying intricacies of airline routing algorithms. He brought them into the kitchen to show them the exact chemistry of how the meal was cooked.
He was trying to teach them how to fish, to use the book's terminology.
Precisely. And the reality of consumer psychology is that most customers do not want to learn to fish. They don't want another job. They want a result.
Fair point.
It was only when he completely pivoted to a structurally different offer, the products called Frequent Flyer Master and the Travel Hacking Cartel, that the business just exploded, bringing in thousands of customers on the very first day.
Because he changed the deliverable.
He didn't teach them the intricacies of international routing codes. He just handed them the cheap tickets. He gave them the fish. He didn't change his work ethic or his action bias. He changed the structural precision of his value proposition.
Okay, that is a fantastic dissection of the Travel Ninja failure. And I completely concede that an offer must ultimately resonate with the market. If you are selling ice to a polar bear, no amount of enthusiastic action is going to save your business.
Thank you.
But the causal mechanism here is what we need to focus on. How does an entrepreneur actually figure out what the market wants? Do they sit in a room, run hypothetical spreadsheets, and plan it out perfectly?
They analyze market inefficiencies, look at behavioral data, and structure a targeted solution.
You're living in a spreadsheet. Complex planning so often becomes a proxy for doing the actual work. It feels productive, but it yields zero real-world data.
Well, your spreadsheet keeps businesses from going bankrupt.
The source material advocates strongly for hustling, which it defines very specifically as the intersection of doing the work and talking about it. It is inherently active. Let's look at Megan Hunt.
The dressmaker in Omaha.
Right. She built a massive custom dress and bridal accessory business. She didn't achieve this through a meticulously planned marketing department or by running focus groups to optimize her value proposition.
So how did she do it?
She did it through strategic giving. She took action by identifying influential bloggers, sending them free, highly customized dresses, and over-delivering with handwritten notes and free upgrades.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't have a corporate marketing architecture. She built her business through relentless, generous, and immediate action.
Okay, but we need to look a lot closer at what Megan Hunt was actually doing there. Because strategic giving is itself a highly sophisticated, structured marketing strategy.
She was just being generous.
She wasn't just throwing dresses out her window to random people on the street. She was identifying key nodes in a network, influencers with built-in audiences, and she was leveraging the psychological principle of reciprocity. That is structural precision, whether she used a spreadsheet or not.
But it's a structure born entirely from hustle. She didn't wait for a PR budget to get approved. And look at John Moorfield, the unemployed architect.
Oh, the 5-cent guy?
Yes, we are talking about a terrible economy where traditional firms were absolutely not hiring. He didn't sit at home writing an 80-page business plan to secure a small business loan.
No, he went to a farmer's market.
He bypassed the traditional structure completely, went down to a local farmer's market, and put up a simple sign offering 5-cent architecture advice. That is pure hustle. He just started talking to people, answering their design questions for a nickel.
It's a great hook.
It removed the massive barrier to entry of a formal architectural consultation. And the result? He gained coverage from CNN, NPR, and the BBC. It catapulted him into a highly successful self-employed career. The sheer audacity of the action is what generated the leverage, not some perfectly engineered strategy.
I'll admit, the farmer's market story is charming. And yes, hustle generates attention, but we have to distinguish between attention and profitability.
Profitability followed the attention.
But attention does not automatically equal a sustainable business if the underlying math is broken. Let's look at Scott McMorran and his Alaska Tour Saver coupon book.
Okay, sure.
Scott didn't just hustle on a street corner. He built a business on rigorous structural precision. He leveraged his existing media sales relationships to curate highly valuable premium deals.
Right, things like helicopter flights and hotels.
Yeah, hotels that cost over $100 a night. And then he priced the coupon book at $99.95.
Which, by the way, is an incredibly counterintuitive price point for a coupon book. Most are sold for, what, 10 or 20 bucks by school fundraising groups?
Exactly. Most are cheap because they offer low-value commodity discounts, like a free soda with a pizza. Scott's strategy was fundamentally different. It was an undeniable mathematical proposition for the consumer.
Because of the high value of the coupons?
The architecture of his offer was literally, buy this book for $100, use it exactly one time for a helicopter tour or a hotel stay, and you have instantly made your money back.
Right.
Every coupon used after that is pure profit for the consumer. The hustle of selling the book only worked because the underlying architecture of the offer was bulletproof. It was, quite literally, an offer they could not refuse.
I see your point.
If the math didn't clearly and immediately favor the buyer, no amount of knocking on doors or hustling at a farmer's market would have kept that business alive for 15 years.
Okay, I'll grant you the math on the Alaska Tour Saver is brilliant. But let's look at the causality here. You can have the most mathematically sound coupon book in the world, like a perfectly engineered bridge.
Okay.
But if you build that perfect bridge in the middle of a desert and you lack the action bias to go out and drag people to it, your perfect structure will never encounter a real customer. Action has to precede optimization.
Not always.
Yes, always. Look at Jen and Omar, the design school graduates in Columbus, Ohio.
The map designers.
Right. They were experiencing massive burnout at their agency jobs. They wanted to make a beautifully designed map to chart their own travels, couldn't find one they liked on the market, so they designed their own.
They were scratching their own itch.
Exactly. But the local printer required a minimum order of 50 maps for $500. They only wanted one for their living room. So what did they do?
They bought the 50.
They took a leap. They spent their last $500, kept one map, put the other 49 on a bare-bones one-page website with a basic PayPal button, and went to sleep.
It was a huge risk.
They didn't run a market analysis. They didn't optimize their pricing tiers. That is pure, unadulterated action bias.
And they woke up to a depleted inventory.
They woke up to a fundamentally changed life. Thanks to a random mention on a design forum, they sold out the entire print run in 10 minutes.
Yeah, that is amazing.
They quit their day jobs 9 months later to run the business full-time. They didn't have a mathematically sound continuity strategy. They didn't have an engineered pricing architecture. They had an idea, they took a financial risk, and they put it in front of the market immediately. The action itself created the data and the revenue they needed to figure out the rest later.
I completely acknowledge the courage of Jen and Omar, and scratching your own itch is a proven way to find product market fit. But I want to pivot to what happens after that initial leap.
Okay.
Because momentum might get you out of the driveway, and it might even sell out your first print run. But raw momentum will not sustain a business over the span of a decade. Sustainable, stress-free growth is entirely dependent on pricing architecture and continuity models.
Now we are getting into the weeds of optimization, which I agree is important, but only phase 2.
I would argue it's the difference between owning a business and owning a very stressful, low-paying job. The material details a fascinating case study called the $35,000 experiment.
Oh, the pricing tweak.
Yes, an entrepreneur was selling a digital product for $49. On a whim, to test the structural elasticity of their pricing, they simply changed the price on the sales page to $89.
Almost double.
Right. They didn't rewrite the sales copy, they didn't add any new features to the product, they didn't increase their marketing spend, they just changed a single number. Now, predictably, the conversion rate, meaning the percentage of total website visitors who actually bought the product, dropped slightly.
Right, fewer people bought it.
Fewer people bought it, but because the price was almost double, the overall revenue actually increased substantially. By raising the price, they effectively gave themselves a $24 raise on every single sale they made.
Which adds up fast.
Furthermore, in consumer psychology, a higher price often acts as a proxy for higher quality, filtering out the bargain hunters who traditionally demand the most customer support.
That is a very real phenomenon.
Based on selling just 4 copies a day, that single structural tweak to their pricing architecture netted an extra $35,040 a year in pure profit. Raw hustle and momentum did not create that $35,000. Structural testing created it.
It's a powerful tweak, no doubt.
We see the necessity of structure even more clearly when we look at Brian Clark's model in the text. His entire media empire is built on the concept of continuity, moving customers from one-time transactional purchases into recurring monthly subscriptions.
Subscriptions are the holy grail.
He points out a vital business truth. The key to massive profitability isn't chasing raw market share, it is maximizing the share of the customer. You create a structural architecture where you expend the effort and money to acquire a customer exactly once, but the structure pays you $10 a month every month for years.
That predictability, that cash flow is what actually buys you freedom. That is structural precision at its finest.
Let's pause right there, because while I don't deny the incredible power of a reoccurring revenue model, we have to look at the timeline of the entrepreneur here.
What do you mean? Adding 35 grand to your bottom line just by changing a number on a web page is incredible. Building a massive subscription community is the dream, but tweaking a conversion rate or engineering a tiered continuity program is a luxury that only exists after an entrepreneur has already taken the terrifying leap to start.
Well, you have to start, obviously.
You cannot optimize a conversion rate of 0.
But if you launch with the wrong price point or a fundamentally flawed offer, you might incorrectly assume the market doesn't want your product at all. You might quit, when in fact your idea was brilliant, but your structure was just broken.
That's a fair warning, definitely. But the true core of this micro-business revolution isn't about perfectly optimized venture capital style metrics. It's about ordinary, often burned out people realizing they can start right now, today.
With $100.
With $100 and 0 permission from a boss, a bank, or a gatekeeper. They are creating autonomy first and optimizing for maximum profit second. The action bias is what fundamentally rewrites the script of their lives. It's about recognizing that in today's economy, taking the supposedly safe road of traditional employment is actually increasingly risky, while relying on yourself is the new security.
I would counter that true autonomy is only sustainable when it is undergirded by a mathematically sound foundation. Freedom without financial sustainability is just a fast track to debt.
That's a little pessimistic, but go on.
It's realistic. To bring my position together, the unexpected entrepreneurs who truly thrive over the long haul do so because they deeply understand the mechanics of value. They understand that value relates to deep emotional needs, giving people the fish, not just listing features.
Right.
They succeed by crafting precise, compelling offers, anticipating customer objections in advance, and implementing intelligent pricing models like tiered options and recurring billing. Without that structural precision, all that passionate action is just wasted energy.
And bringing my stance into focus, the micro-business revolution is defined first and foremost by sweat equity, rapid iteration, and the sheer courage to launch before the spreadsheet is perfect. Complex planning is too often a hiding place for fear. By pushing through the paralysis, keeping startup costs incredibly low, and adapting a philosophy of market before manufacturing, these individuals create the very momentum that allows a business to exist in the first place. Action and the friction it creates with the real world is the ultimate teacher.
Yet, despite our different lenses on the mechanics of success, I think there is a profound point of convergence here in the source material.
Oh, for sure.
We both absolutely agree that the old world is gone. The traditional barriers to entry are obsolete. You simply do not need a $60,000 business degree or a massive bank loan or a physical storefront to create a highly meaningful, highly profitable life.
Absolutely. The gatekeepers have gone home. And we also converge on the fundamental definition of value presented in the text, which is that value means helping people.
Yes.
Whether you arrive at that help through rapid, iterative action, or whether you arrive at it through meticulous, mathematical structuring, the end goal is exactly the same: to solve a real problem for someone else.
Provide them the emotional benefit they are actually seeking. Solve the problem.
Exactly. There is so much more to explore within this source material, particularly the dozens of specific case studies of these unexpected entrepreneurs who have completely rewritten the rules of work.
And for anyone listening who is currently contemplating their own escape from the traditional corporate structure, the material poses a fascinating, immediate challenge. You have to look at your own tendencies and ask yourself what you are currently lacking.
Right. Do you tend to overthink, meaning you need to focus on taking immediate imperfect action to break your own inertia?
Or are you running in 100 different directions, meaning you need to pause, look at your strategy, and structure a more compelling, mathematically sound offer?
Understanding your own bias is required to truly chart a path to independence.
It absolutely is.
And with that, we'll leave it to you to decide your next move. Thanks for joining us on the debate. Keep moving forward.